Shadows of Shibuya, Letters from Home. Part 2 is a poignant historical narrative that chronicles the wartime experiences of Sergeant Leonard James McNeill, a 27-year-old B-29 tail gunner in the U.S. Army Air Forces during World War II. Set primarily in March and April 1945, this installment weaves together excerpts from McNeill's personal letters, war diaries from his unit, the 881st and 883rd Bomb Squadrons of the 500th Bomb Group, and accounts from fellow crew members, juxtaposing the brutal realities of aerial combat over Japan with the everyday struggles and domestic life of his family back in Orlando, Florida. The story opens on March 20th, 1945, with McNeill, a married father of two, writing a reflective letter to his father-in-law, Jimmie Culbreth, from Saipan Island. Having recently participated in devastating firebombing raids on major Japanese cities like Tokyo, Osaka, Kobe, and Nagoya, McNeill expresses a mix of pride in their destructive impact, likening the fires to seeing Tampa burn from Orlando, and deep concern for his family's future should he not survive. His broader perspective, shaped by age and fatherhood, shines through as he urges Culbreth to ensure his wife Melba and children are cared for, hinting at unspoken horrors of war that he hopes to share someday. As the narrative progresses day by day, it details the relentless pace of missions under General Curtis LeMay's command, including preparations for Operation Iceberg, the invasion of Okinawa. McNeill's law crew flies grueling sorties, such as a reconnaissance flight over Okinawa on March 30th and a low-altitude precision strike on the Mitsubishi aircraft engine plant in Nagoya on March 24th. Amid heavy losses, 5 crews vanished that night. Interspersed are operational summaries, photos, referenced but not shown, and diary entries that highlight the human cost, promotions, aircraft replacements, and visits from war correspondents like Ernie Pyle, whose idealized depictions of Saipan contrast sharply with McNeill's gritty reality. Parallel to the combat scenes, Letters from Home provide a heartbreaking counterpoint. Melba writes about mundane yet mounting challenges.
Marianas Island, March 20th, 1945. Dear Jimmy, it struck me the other night just before we went in on Nagoya that I should write to you, because at that time I had a devil of a lot on my mind, and it looked like all old hell was going to break loose. But I guess the Lord answered my prayers any way I prayed and got back. Thank God I learned how and didn't forget. The job we are doing isn't easy, not even for a brave man, and I always felt I was a little chicken. Our reward for what we are doing is great, or I think so anyway. I have sat and looked back at Japan for 100 miles off the coast and seen 3 of their largest and most important cities in flames. Can you imagine a fire in Tampa that you could see in Orlando? It wouldn't leave much of Tampa, would it? I don't think there is much left of Nagoya or the others either. We came back with our chest stuck out and our head held high, somewhat different than the way we go out, but we are still shaking inside. But it isn't all hither. Island life, I guess, could be enjoyable. Anyway, you wouldn't have to go far to catch fish. The bomb group made arrangements for some to go offshore a little, was to do some deep-sea fishing a few days ago. I sure would have liked to have gone, but I was busy over Osaka the night before, and sleep after anything like that is somewhat more important than fishing. And speaking of Osaka, we brought back a good-sized flak hole in our ship from that job, but no personal injury to any crew members. It's going to take a lot of prayers to bring us through them all as well as we have been, but I guess the whole country is for us, and only half of it praying for us. My real reason for writing to you is not to tell you what is going on. You read hat in all the papers and hear on the radio more than we do ourselves. My principal thought is about my family, and I write to you as I always felt as a friend and not a son-in-law. Everything is left so the kids can have about half a chance growing up. But I doubt if Melba will be level-headed enough to think of the things that will be coming to herald the kids. I have told her before I came over, but I believe she took it too lightly and thinks it can't happen here to her. But maybe it can. My folks should be notified by her, as they are not listed as next of kin on any of my papers. So please don't let anything be overlooked. Well, Jimmy, that about covers everything I do believe. This is the first day off I have had since I have been here. Guns all cleaned and put up for another day. We are just waiting for another Jap city to spring up for us to destroy. Guns at home have a habit of being cleaned every season, but here it's open season, so gun cleaning is about a daily routine. Before and after each mission, and in between times too. If you keep them good, they will work for you when you need them. If you don't take care of them, then the nips take care of you. The things that can't be written, I hope someday to be able to tell you. It may be a couple of years, and by then it will all be funny, but now it's darn serious. Sincerely, Leonard.
March 21st, 1945. As indicated from the war diary, sometime during the month of March, Leonard and the law crew received their air medal from the 883rd Bomb Squadron, War Diary, 21 March. A routine day. There was a meeting of the Awards and Decoration Board. Applications were forwarded. A rainy spell has set in. New crew assigned. Lieutenant Ben B. White, Crew 366. March 22nd, 1945. I maintain this is no place for a father. A letter from Leonard's brother. He is serving aboard a Navy ship in the Pacific. After a very rainy day and night, today the law crew would begin preparations for the upcoming mission code name, Eradicate 5, from the Tactical Operations page. This page, in my opinion, is the most telling change in the war. The missions described represent more than 30 square miles of complete burnt-out devastation, along with better than 150,000 human lives and millions displaced. Saipan Island, from the 883rd Bomb Squadron, War Diary, 22 March, started moving the operations tent to make room for a new Quonset. Today, Captain Herschel Connor, formerly of the Fitzgerald crew of the 881st, but now assigned to wing, dropped by the 500th area to see his old crew chief, Sergeant George Lucas. Coincidentally, today, Lucas had gone with 881st Operations Officer Captain Norbert Oswald over to base operations to pick up a brand new plane to replace Z-8 lost with the Fitzgerald crew on 17 March. Oswald and Lucas taxied what would become the 4th Z-8 back to the 500th area. First claim on the new plane went to Captain Donald Thompson and crew. More B-29s, more men. March 23, 1945. Ernie Pyle, war correspondent. Sergeant Leonard James McNeill would receive mail today from Melba. Leonard wrote Melba a letter addressing life on Saipan over the past several weeks. Leonard's description is in stark contrast to the one Melba had visualized through the articles that had been written by Ernie Pyle. Ernie visited Saipan sometime towards the end of March or the first week of April. A citation for 10 days of outstanding performance was mailed to Leonard's address in Orlando, Florida. From the 881st Bomb Squadron, War Diary, 23 March. Lent Barnwell of the ATC Air Transport Command visited the squadron seeking information on Lent. Northcutt of Captain Charter's crew. The Charter's crew had been lost on 9 Jan when their plane, Z-45, developed engine trouble en route to Tokyo, and they had to ditch in bad weather. He was given what information we had, March 24, 1945. Briefing for Mission 34, target number 193, the Mitsubishi aircraft engine plant in Nagoya was held at 1600 hours. Takeoff will be at approximately 1730. The law crew is in the B-29, Z-12, as indicated in the IFR individual flight record. Very heavy losses on this mission, 5 crews gone, 55 men did not return. Notes from Mr. Robert Castle.
On this mission, the target is Nagoya. The flight time takeoff 2 a.m. The B-29 we are in is a square 48. We took off for another fire raid to Nagoya. We developed a gas leak about 45 minutes out and had to return. Our second abort, Shafroth and his crew, was lost on this raid, presumably over the target as no word was heard from them. Summers, Tramp, Shiskansky, Wright, and Smith were on it. God help and keep them if they are still alive.
On the night of March 24-25, the 21st Bomber Command carried out a strike on the Mitsubishi aircraft engine plant in Nagoya. This was an unusual night. Low-level, precision attack. The 500th Bomb Group scheduled 30 aircraft for this mission, and 30 were airborne. In addition, the Clinkscales crew flew Z-45 as a Super Dumbo and rescue plane on this mission. 4 weeks, Sergeant Leonard James McNeill would have been on Saipan Island for 4 weeks. The B-29 and the new tactics introduced by LeMay the first week of March and executed by the B-29 crews has laid to waste a significant amount of real estate and countless lives lost. This revisit on the 25th to Nagoya would show the path for the future. Burn, 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 burn all down. One plane and crew had a particularly rough time over the target. Z-26 was being flown on this mission by the Sealy crew. It was their first combat mission, and Group CO Ludin, John Doherty, had decided to ride along with them. Doherty seemed to fly quite a few missions. He did not lead from a desk. On the bomb run at 6,000 feet, some anti-aircraft guns caught their range and shot a few holes in the plane. Then, just before bombs away, the plane shook. A shell had torn a large hole in the left wing and ripped off half the aileron. It also knocked out the radar and may have damaged the bomb release mechanism in some way, because the bombs failed to drop. This was a terrifying experience for a rookie crew, but the plane was luckily still controllable, and perhaps with Doherty's encouragement, they decided to try again. So they made a right turn and came around again over the city. There they were hit yet again by flak in the tail surfaces and the radar compartment, and the radar operator was slightly wounded. Worse, the bombs failed to release for a second time. Tempting fate twice was enough, so they headed toward home, intending to try to drop their bombs again, this time on Hamamatsu as a last resort target. But the plane was not handling well due to the damage, so they changed targets to Toyohashi, which was on a more direct route, and this time they got their bombs away. March 26, 1945. After being on Saipan for 1 month, Leonard would have been waiting for mail from home.
A letter from Melba. Dear Leonard, the car has been doing funny for about 3 days. Today it finally stopped altogether on my way out to Mother's. Daddy pulled me to Mr. Cates and it's the fuel pump. I have to have a new one. I had to leave the car there because they could not get one today, being Sunday. He said he can fix it in the morning. It's going to cost around $5. Things like this always happen the end of the month. Also, the garbage inspector left a notice that I had to have a garbage can in 5 days. I think the 5 days are up tomorrow. I cannot get one till the 3rd. I'm wondering what he is going to say. Mother carried Dorothy and Jimmie to Sunday school this morning, but Jimmie would not stay, so we are not going to let him go again. Dorothy has been promoted to the larger class and likes it fine. She is planning on going next Sunday and bringing her Easter basket. I do not have any films so far to make Easter pictures to send you, but maybe I'll be able to get a role somewhere. Love, Melba.
From the 881st Bomb Squadron War Diary Mission number 35, scheduled for 1100 hours, but it was postponed to 1500 hours. The target will be Oita Airfield. Mission number 35 would be the beginning of several weeks of bombing of Japanese airfields on the southernmost home island of Kyushu in support of Operation Iceberg, the invasion of Okinawa, scheduled for 1 April. General Arnold and LeMay were not happy about this diversion from the strategic bombing campaign, but Admiral Nimitz and the Navy were insistent, and since the Navy delivered nearly all the supplies for the 21st Bomber Command in the Marianas, they got their way. March 27, 1945. On this date, the 21st Bomber Command sent its planes against Japanese airfields on Kyushu in support of the upcoming invasion of Okinawa. These would be daylight precision attacks. The 499th and 500th Groups drew as target the airfield at Oita. The 500th was ordered to prepare 3 combat squadrons of 10 aircraft each. The 20th Air Force flew 1,529 sorties and laid 12,135 mines in 26 fields on 46 separate missions. Mining demanded only 5.7% of the 21st Bomber Command's total sorties, and only 15 B-29s were lost in the effort. In return, mines sank or damaged 670 ships, totaling more than 1,250,000 tons.
March 27, 1945. Melba writes a letter. Dear Leonard, there was 2 big holes in the gas line of the car. Also, I have to have a new fuel pump. That's where all my gas has been going ever since I got the car. I have been smelling gas so strong I knew it was using an awful lot. Daddy used to get such good mileage on his Chevrolet, so I'm hoping now I will. Mr. Cates has a baby Billy goat at the station. The kids are crazy about him. He tried to take Jimmie's bottle away from him. I have not had any films to make pictures, but I'll send a few I have of Jimmie taken at the lake. Dorothy was not along that day. Also, I have 2 of me. I don't think you have them. The reason I gave up the idea of going to Jacksonville was because Mother seemed to think it was a lot of nerve for me and the kids to go up there for a week. She did not come right out plain and say it, but she let me know that's the way she felt. So I said to hell with them all. It's her sister, I wouldn't go. I really believe that Bea and Jerry would like to have had us. Sometimes it seems to me everyone is against everything I try to do. Love, Melba.
Notes from Mr. Robert Castle.
The target is Takirai. Our fly time 15 hours. The dreamboat we are in is called the Esquire 48. We took off at 1300 hours for Takirai Airfield on Kyushu Island. We flew single to Iwo, a smoldering mess, and then found there and flew to target in formation. We hit the landfall and didn't see anything until the target. Laid the bombs right on the target and had no interception or flak. I saw 2 fighters, but they were way below us. We got back here okay, but it was a long trip. The target was really knocked out this time. That's a good thing.
Today, Willie Green, CFC gunner on the Haas crew, helped clean the guns on Z-24, which the crew had flown in yesterday's mission. Green also learned that he had been promoted to sergeant on the 26th of March. Sergeant Leonard James McNeill and the rest of the law crew would have been doing similar jobs like Mr. Willie Green. The law crew is scheduled to do a mission in the next 24 hours. Operational Summary, March 29, 1945. Melba followed up with a letter March 27th explaining the trouble she was having with the car. Also an amusing couple of lines about Melvin's bottle being taken from him by a goat while at the service station. I can totally imagine Melba confiding with Leonard in regards to the difficulties she was having with her mother. Is it a coincidence that Melba is having gas problems with the car at the same time Leonard was placed into the world? Where gasoline bombs are the daily event? A lot of things are going on in this letter from Melba. Today, she has just received Leonard's letter telling her about life on Saipan. Melba writes,
Dear Leonard, I received your nice long letter about life in the Marianas, and it was very interesting. You will be very happy to know I wrote Seymour and sent him 3 pictures. One of me, you, Dorothy, and Jimmie, and you, Dorothy, and Jimmie taken when you were home, and one by yourself taken in Texas. I sent it airmail, so he should get it soon. I'm sending you 3 pictures you might like. We were over to Daytona for the day. We got sand in the Kodak and most of the pictures wouldn't take. I spent the knee with Doris last night, and we got up early and went to New Area to get our passes renewed to get some groceries at commissary. But the car started acting funny, and finally stopped just outside the gate at New Area. We got the bus back and Mr. Cates went out. I brought it. They have decided there's trash in the gas line. It's sand and leaves. I remember Jimmy had the gas cap off. I'll bet he filled it full of dirt. I just finished dyeing a couple of eggs for Paul to take to school tomorrow. They are having a little Easter egg hunt. I'm starting to work at Dowsby's Monday. No nights and no Sundays. They didn't give me my job back at Strahd's. Said she would like to have me would call, but I can't wait around for that. I got the children back in the same nursery. They have to have a health certificate, so I'm taking them to Airbase for checkup tomorrow, while I'm going to have a blood test for my health card. Doris and I went to the show last night. It was very good. Judy Garland in Meet Me in St. Louis. I was talking to Mrs. McCurmian today, Ruth's mother, and she thinks her son is in what you are in. I believe it's radio or wireless. Love, Melba.
Operational Summary, 83 March 29, 1945. From the 883rd Bomb Squadron, War Diary. The 29th of March, 1945. Work continues on the Operations Quonset. The floor has been laid and the windows and sides are being installed. Newly promoted Sergeant Willie Green of the Haas crew of the 882nd spent part of his day cleaning guns on Z-28. This afternoon at about 1540, a new replacement crew, AC Captain Ernest Mock, assigned to the 881st Squadron, returned from a 2.5-hour training mission in Z3 with the 802 engine feathered due to an oil leak. Mock landed the plane safely, and everybody thought they were home free. But while taxiing toward their hardstand, Mock misjudged the distance to a truck parked alongside the taxiway and hit it with the number 4 propeller, bending back all 4 blades of the prop and probably ruining the engine, while also severely damaging the rear of the truck. The official report blamed the truck driver for parking too close to the taxiway. Today, Captain Herschel Connor, formerly flight engineer on the Fitzgerald crew of the 881st Squadron, came down from Wing, where he was now assigned, to chat with his old crew chief, Sergeant George Lucas, whom he called Luke. The two men were tops in their respective fields and liked and respected one another. In a conversation about the loss of Z-8 and the Fitzgerald crew, Les Connor, of course, on the night of 16-17 March over Kobe, both men felt the loss deeply. Connor learned that Left Gunner Sergeant John Cutler had been carrying Lucas's St. Christopher Medal that night. Lucas also said that he thought the crew would have made it back if Connor had still been the flight engineer, but both men knew that was just wishful thinking. March 30th, 1945, 24 hours prior to the invasion of Okinawa. More than 500,000 American soldiers are on ships preparing to invade Okinawa. The Law Crew Mission. Leonard and the Law Crew fly the mission that would report vital information back to Guam ahead of the invasion force scheduled to begin April 1st, the invasion of Okinawa. From the 881st Bomb Squadron War Diary, 500th Bomb Group Operations Journal, as indicated on Leonard's individual flight record Lieutenant Law in B-29Z-11, nicknamed Bottled in Blonde, took off on the 30th of March at 5:02 p.m. local and completed Flight Plan King. It has not been noted thus far that weather strike mission ships have been landing at Guam on the return leg of flight for weather interrogation. It appears from this statement that it was for the weather interrogation. The crew were questioned in detail by the weather staff at 21st Bomber Command Headquarters on Guam about anything they may have observed on the flight. Or maybe there was some other undisclosed reason. This is a high-altitude mission observing American invasion forces and Japanese defenses. March 31st, 1945, Sergeant Leonard James McNeill, after 17 HRS in the B-29Z-11, that took off from Saipan Island, 1702 local, and completed Flight Plan King. Ship returned to base at 12:02 local, March 31st. The law crew will have about 8 hours before loading up for the next mission. April 1st, 1945, Easter morning. Takeoff scheduled for 10:30 p.m. On this date, the 21st Bomber Command again sent its planes against airfields and related targets on Kyushu. The assigned target for the 4 groups of the 73rd Bomb Wing was the Tachiari Machine Works on the edge of Tachiari Airfield. The 500th Bomb Group scheduled 27 aircraft for this mission, of which 25 were airborne. April 1st, 1945. The law crew did not participate in the ceremonies today. Sergeant McNeill will be boarding Z-11, target Tokyo number 357 Tokyo mission. Meanwhile, back home in Florida, Paul, Dorothy Ann, and Melvin James are enjoying a Easter egg hunt at Jimmie and Florence Culbreth home. April 1st, 1945, Easter Sunday. Melba explains the latest news about the fuel problem she is having with the car. I can sense frustration in her tone. On the upside, a job with better pay. The children had a nice Easter egg hunt. In closing, good night, honey, and answer the letter I wrote yesterday soon. Love, Melba. While Sergeant Leonard James McNeill's children and family are having Easter Sunday in Orlando, Florida, Leonard is boarding the B-29 Z-11 on Saipan Island and heading to Tokyo as tail gunner with the law crew. Mission: destroy target number 357 Nakajima aircraft Musashino plant from the 883rd Bomb Squadron War Diary, 1 April, Easter Sunday. Only a skeleton force worked. The target is 357 Nakajima Aircraft Engine Plant, Tokyo. Takeoff scheduled for approximately 2030. On the night of 2nd April, the 73rd Bomb Wing revisited the familiar Target 357, the Nakajima Aircraft Engine Plant in Musashino near Tokyo, for the 9th time. However, this was the first night bombing attack on this target. The 500th Bomb Group put up 35 aircraft for this mission. Melba writes a letter April 1st, 1945.
Dear Leonard, I'm still having trouble with the car. It stopped again last night. We are not going to fool with Kato any longer, so I guess the $7 I paid him is just thrown away. Daddy pushed me to Mr. Prescott's at Holden Heights and he is supposed to fix it first thing in the morning. Stroud's called me to come back to work, so I told Mary Dowsby I couldn't work for her. I'm getting more money and better hours. She did not like it a little bit. We had a nice Easter, Jerry and B. And grandmother are here until tomorrow, so me and the kids went out there. They had an Easter egg hunt in the backyard. I have to go to the dentist tomorrow. I guess I'll never get my teeth in good condition. I couldn't get out to the airbase to get the children examined for health certificates because the car was broke, so I called up and Dr. Ford wrote me out a statement that both children were in good health. He did not even see them. It cost me $2. Good night, honey, and answer the letter I wrote soon. Love, Melba.
April 2nd, 1945, the notes from Robert Castle, the account of the mission.
Target number 357, Tokyo B-29, a square 48. This was a night raid on 357. The first time it had been tried on this target, which has given us the most work. The altitude was 6,000 feet and we were really sweating. The searchlights picked us up from the coast to target and out. Flak was all over us and we had about a dozen holes in us. I've prayed in the tail before, but this was the first time I got on my knees to do it. Saw a few night fighters but no attacks. One dreamboat went down over target. Z-square 11.
As reported by Mr. Ray Hopper, he said, Law did not get out of the B-29. He died when the ship exploded in the air. Leonard and the other 9 crew members parachuted, floating down and landing on the ground, relatively uninjured. They each landed in different areas separately. The ground they landed on was in the very place where they had just spent the past month bombing with incendiaries burning out more than 50% of the city, killing over 100,000 people, and leaving millions homeless. On the ground in Japan, the Canadian-born Somerville, Mass., high school graduate, father, and husband. Counterman at a swanky uptown tavern in the heart of downtown Orlando, Florida, the city beautiful. At this point, Leonard has impacted millions of lives and changed the world. The experience of jumping out of the aircraft would have been frightening, and now Leonard is on the ground near Tokyo, Japan, as an American soldier, scared and being hunted, or perhaps he was surrounded while drifting to the ground. The members of the law crew number 107A, initially listed as missing, were as follows: AC Lieutenant Edward Law, Co-Pilot 2nd Lieutenant Gerald Giddings, Bombardier 2nd Lieutenant David Gerhardt, Navigator 2nd Lieutenant Donald Van Dever, Sergeant Raymond Richmond, Radio Sergeant Robert Need, Ring Gunner Sergeant Harry McMillan, Right Gunner Sergeant Ray Hopper, Left Gunner Sergeant Maurice Myers, Radar Sergeant Thaddeus Pasternak, Tail Gunner Sergeant Leonard J. McNeill. An additional sad note: the crew of the Jolton Josie was killed during takeoff from Saipan Island as the aircraft exploded just past the end of the runway during this mission. Melba writes a letter.
Dear Leonard, I'm writing to ask you something and it's so hard to know how. I need some money. I have tried so hard to get straight. I have borrowed from everyone. I have so much extra expense that if I don't have some help from somewhere, I don't know what to do. Now, if you do not have it or do not get paid over there, don't worry about it, because somehow I'll manage. It always seems darkest before things get better. I started back to work today. I'm so tired too. My legs are so sore from leaning against the fountain. I got the car today. It cost $6.50, so that makes a total of $13.50. I have paid on it out of this allotment. The kids' Easter clothes set me back some, and today I paid Dr. Kathmeyer $10.50 on the bill I owe him. I'm so proud. He says he almost has them all fixed. Leonard, I'm sorry I have to ask you for money. I thought I was very independent, but I guess I'm not. Love, Melba. Oh yeah, did you get the letter Daddy wrote you?
April 3rd, 1945. Sunrise. Sergeant Leonard James McNeill is on the ground and attempting to avoid capture in Japan near Tokyo. Melba, in a letter, is expressing difficulties she is having back home and pleads for assistance from Leonard. The following is the account of CFC gunner Mr. Ray Hopper describing his capture on the morning of April 2nd. The interview, conducted by Lieutenant Colonel John Hugh, Mr. Hopper told him the following about the Z-11 going down.
We got about 8 hours sleep after Ryukyu on the 31st. We had another briefing for a raid on Tokyo. This mission required bombing the Nakajima aircraft plant in Tokyo number 357, the most heavily defended target in all of Japan. The bombing altitude was 4,500 feet. Time was about 2:30 in the morning. The bomb run was to be 14 minutes long. About 5 minutes into the bomb run, we were hit by anti-aircraft fire in the right wing. A small explosion occurred between number 3 and number 4 engines, resulting in a large fuel leak and fire trailing the aircraft. The pilot alerted the crew, prepare for bailout, and then jettisoned the bombs. Moments later, we were hit again between the tail and rear crew compartment. The pilot climbed the aircraft, then dove it, trying to blow out the fire. The fire had caught up with the aircraft by this time and had intensified. Law gave the order to bail out. The 5 crew members in the rear section of the aircraft bailed out successfully. I was the last person in the rear to leave. The plane blew up as I was descending in my parachute. In my descent, I thought I saw a parachute hanging in a tree nearby. I hid in a rice paddy, covered my chute, and scrambled for a ditch near a dike close by. I heard voices approaching and laid down in the ditch. There were several Japanese on bicycle. After they passed, I started walking toward some trees where I thought I had seen the chute. I was crossing another rice paddy when again I heard some voices. There were 4 soldiers approaching. I knew it was impossible for me to hide, so I stood up, hands over my head, and surrendered. The soldiers took my jacket, .45 caliber weapon, watch and billfold. They blindfolded me and tied my hands behind my back. One of the soldiers fired the .45 4 times in the air. I kept thinking the next shot was for me. It was about 6 in the morning. Pretty soon they tugged on my arms and started walking. The soldiers did not abuse me, but when they met civilians they would hit me with sticks, throw rocks, and kids would pinch me. We walked most of the day to Kempitiya Prison, military police headquarters, in Tokyo. They put me in a cell and beat me with bamboo sticks. Somewhere during this walk, I was kicked in the left leg. The person kicked me really hard because it took about 6 weeks to heal. At Kempitiya late that afternoon, I was interrogated by a Japanese officer. We had previously been told at our crew mission briefing that if captured, we could tell the Japanese anything and everything they asked us, as it wouldn't make any difference. That evening, I was put in a cell with a Japanese civilian.
2 a.m., Sergeant Leonard James McNeill had jumped out of a burning B-29 while traveling at more than 200 miles per hour over the target area, Tokyo, Japan. The B-29 serial number 4469666 Z-11 was caught in the searchlights. The B-29 was hit by flak in the wing fuel tank as burning fuel flowed from the ruptured fuel tank. Lieutenant Law then dropped the bombs and proceeded to put the plane into a dive and climb, attempting to put the fire out. As that was happening under the Z-11, an explosion causing more damage to the plane. Lieutenant Law ordered the crew to bail out. The 500th Bomb Group from the 883rd Bomb Squadron, War Diary, April 2nd. All our squadron returned safely at approximately 11:15 hours. It is believed that the Law crew of the 881st was lost over the target. They are the only crew from group missing. April 4th, 1945. Melba writes to Leonard. Feeling Leonard's loneliness, Melba writes, "Your letter yesterday was pretty blue, but honey, you'll learn to love moonlight nights and orange blossoms and rain on the roof again. The most wonderful thing I can think of is to have you home again." By this time, Sergeant Leonard James McNeill would have been captured by the Japanese military police and taken to the Kempitiya Military Police Headquarters in Tokyo. He would have received no less treatment than the type Mr. Hopper described. Beatings, interrogation, animalistic living conditions that must have been brutal by all accounts. Locked up in an overcrowded, lice-ridden 5 by 9 foot dungeon at Kempitiya headquarters in downtown Tokyo, across the moat from the Imperial Palace, while the real threat of execution overshadowed each passing moment. Melba writes a letter.
Darling, Leonard, I'm so tired, my legs hurt so bad I feel like crying for hours. The most wonderful thing I can think of is having you home again. I am going to turn everything over to you and never worry again. I'm so tired of being with Mother and Daddy. Believe it or not, it's quite a job. Your letter yesterday was pretty blue, but honey, you'll learn to love moonlight nights and orange blossoms and rain on the roof again. They will someday mean to both of us what they used to, and that was pretty swell, wasn't it? Doris' brother that's in the Navy came home on leave. She called me this morning. They are going down there. It's been a long time since he was home. I was talking to Eunice in Grants and she is kinda looking for George Booth home. He was wounded in New Guinea. She didn't know how bad, but he has had to get someone to write his letters for him, so he is unable to write. Mother left for Jacksonville today. B is to be operated on Thursday and wanted Mother there. Edna and Johnny have bought a house in Sanford, so they will be leaving in a few weeks. She is giving me the icebox as they bought an electric one. Love, Melba.
The 500th Bomb Group. On this date, the 73rd Bomb Wing flew another high-altitude precision strike against Target 357, the Nakajima Aircraft Engine Plant in Musashino near Tokyo. However, there would be a tactical change this time in the hope of fooling the enemy. Z-19 Althoff crew encountered something very unusual which gave the crew a good scare. Near Land's End at 9,000 feet, what was described as a ball of fire was observed at 5 o'clock level and about 300 yards behind the B-29. Althoff immediately took evasive action in the form of several turns, but the ball of fire stayed with the plane. In an attempt to shake it, AC Althoff and co-pilot Ogush pushed their yokes all the way forward and went into a steep dive down to 6,000 feet, reaching an airspeed of 295. One of the side gunners who did not have his safety harness on was temporarily plastered to the top of the compartment. Finally, the ball of fire fell behind and apparently turned back. The crew later decided that their aerial pursuer had been probably a Baka bomb. April 5, 1945, Sergeant Leonard James McNeill and the 9 members of the law crew joined the 3 crew members of the B-29 named Wolf. The men are special prisoners held in captivity at Kempeitia Headquarters, Tokyo, Japan. Day number 4 of capture. A letter from Paul Mashburn. Leonard's stepson Paul Mashburn writes,
Dear Daddy, how are you? I can play baseball now. I know how to swim. Have you shot any Japs down? Give them something they won't forget. Write soon. X and O. Love, Paul. P.S. Write to me.
Melba writes a letter.
Dear Leonard, I have the prettiest pink chiffon negligee and night gown to match. It's real thin and not a bit practical, but I have been paying a little on it for some time and finally got it out. It's for when you come home, and I have it wrapped in paper in the chest that your clothes are in. I shouldn't tell you about it, but it's so pretty. I wanted black but couldn't find one I liked. It's been hot here. I don't know what we are going to do if we don't have rain soon. I'm sending you Paul's letter that he wrote you tonight. I have the damnest luck I got 2 red tickets on the car today. I never do things halfway, do I? They just started marking cars again, and I was parked where I have been parking ever since I started work. Each time he came around, he gave me a ticket. I don't know how much it will cost me. The druggist sent me to Mr. Stone to see if he could do anything about it. He knows Mr. Stone. Love, Melba.
This is the end of Shadows of Shibuya, Letters from Home, Part 2. Shadows of Shibuya Letters from Home Part 3 opens with, an OSS representative relayed a message from a member of a Japanese princely family related to the emperor, who intended to personally visit the emperor to offer reassurance that the Holy See still aimed to mediate peace in the Pacific War, and believed it was the right moment to push for an end amid stubborn militaristic resistance. Toda promised to soon send acceptable conditions to the Vatican for peace negotiations and urged the Pope to pray for Japan's rulers to accept honorable peace. Meanwhile, U.S. forces are captured, increasing the numbers of American soldiers and crew from aircraft downed over Tokyo. Many were held at Kempeitia, including Leonard McNeill and his crew, in brutally harsh conditions. Ray Hopper's account detailed the initial days as a prisoner, solitary confinement, a meager fish-head diet, then shared cells called pig pens with minimal amenities, where camaraderie temporarily softened their grim plight. Amid bombing missions, the 73rd Bomb Wing targeted Tokyo's Nakajima aircraft engine plant multiple times, with missions involving early fighter escort, heavy anti-aircraft fire, and aircraft losses. Witnesses described planes disintegrating and parachutes opening near Choshi Point. On April 13th, President Roosevelt died unexpectedly, prompting Melba to express grief in heartfelt letters. The relentless air attacks continued, including incendiary raids over Tokyo and supportive strikes on Okinawa, as the death of Ernie Pyle, famed war correspondent, was announced. Throughout these days, prisoners endured interrogations, scarce food, and uncertain fates, while the war effort pressed on, the ties to home fraying with each harrowing report. Melba's letters reveal deep fears, hopes for news, and her ongoing connection with Leonard beyond captivity, reflecting the emotional toll of the relentless conflict. Shadows of Shibuya, Letters from Home, Part 3, continues with the chronicle of B-29 bomb crews held as special prisoners near the Tokyo military prison in Tokyo, Japan.